spread this out a little bit. What might that be?
Ovary.
Yeah, that's an ovary. Yeah, mammals have microscopic eggs. We don't need big ovaries. If you have two X chromosomes and you want to have a big ovary, you have to become a bird. If you can become a bird, you could have a big ovary, you know, because they produce eggs that are big, really big. But if you want to be a mammal, you have to go for a small ovary. What's that?
Fallopian tube.
Yeah, fallopian tube or uterine tube or oviduct. Those are all synonymous. Okay, so there's the ovary, there's the fallopian tube. Obviously, I'm going to ask some of this on the test. Well, this shows pretty well on this one, but some of the things show better on these separate specimens. So here, the uterus is a fundus. That shows better on these, though. It's here. It's a convex dome-shaped part. So even without, laying this out, look at this. This is the body. The uterus has a fundus, a body, and a cervix. The fundus is here, but it doesn't show so well on this one. But look at this. There's the body of the uterus on this one, and look at how this is convex over there. I'm going to hold this up and show it again. That's the fundus. And then, so it's fundus, body, and then cervix. The cervix is right over here. So that's as much as I can show on this one. The vagina is in there. I need these to show the vagina. Okay, so here, one of these shows the fundus better than the other one. This is pretty good. You see, here's the body of the uterus over here, and then notice that here it's convex. You see that? That's the fundus. It's the same term used for a convex bulge on the stomach just to the left of the esophagus, the fundus of the stomach. And the stomach also has a body, but the stomach doesn't have a cervix, and the uterus doesn't have a pyloric region. Okay, now there was a growth, but I'm not exploring that because I want to keep this one intact. Okay, so it's fundus, this dome-shaped part, body, and cervix. And then just let's take a look at the same parts on this one. One of them has a more obvious fundus. So I think that's even more convex. Look at that. There's the fundus. That's body, fundus. Now, I think those are labeled in the atlas also, so they can turn up on the quiz, because amongst the images that I'm requiring are pictures of this. Okay, so when you're studying for the quiz, it'll help for this. Now, what's that?
Ovary.
Yeah, there are the ovaries. What's this?
Fallopian tube.
That's correct.
Could you show it this side? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Ovaries. Fallopian tubes. This one's more obvious. Now, one of these has, let's see where it is. So let's try the other one. They may have gotten a little ragged from handling. And I'm not going to use the models that I use in Bio 8. Yeah, it's here, but it's flattened out. There is a funnel-shaped terminal part on the oviduct, or uterine tube or fallopian tube, called the infundibulum of the tube. That's here. It's squashed, though. The cavity couldn't be retained. So there it is. It's this region right over there. That's the infundibulum, but squashed. It used to have a cavity in it. And that sat like a wizard's cap, on top of the ovary. okay? And then extending from its margin, I think that this is visible. See these little, see that projection? Right there? You can see little bits of others. That's called a fimbrium. That's this little projection right over there. Fimbrium is the singular, and they're present in the multiple, and the plural is fimbria, Fimbria. They're extensions of the margin of the funnel. And then the inside of the funnel is lined with ciliated epithelium, and the inside surfaces, the surfaces that face the ovary of the fimbria are also covered with ciliated epithelium, and the power stroke of the cilia is toward the tube. So when ovulation takes place, the beating of the cilia pick up the oocyte in the follicular fluid surrounded by the corona radiata of theca interna cells and propel that toward the main part of the tube. Okay? So you should know the infundibulum, and at least that fimbrium is good. Okay? So that may be the one good fimbrium, which I will, it's likely that I'll ask that. So now, one of these has additional things. Now, this one, let me show this one as well. This has this. See these sheets of membrane? They extend to the walls of the pelvic cavity. So they're suspending the uterus in the middle of the pelvic cavity. They act as ligaments. These are called the broad ligaments of the uterus. That's these sheets of membrane that I'm holding. See these? This one.
Ligaments?
Yeah, the broad ligaments of the uterus. One extends from the uterus laterally to each adjacent wall of the pelvic cavity. So they're between them, they're suspending the uterus like that in the middle of the pelvic cavity. And then there's also a cord-like ligament, which doesn't show well on these specimens, called the round ligament, which I asked in on a Bio 8 exam because I have a model which shows it. But since I used that model in Bio 8, I don't want to use it here. I'm sticking to the actual stuff. So there's also a round ligament as well. Doesn't show too well anymore. It's got flattened out. Let's take a look at this one for that. That one's better for the broad ligaments. Okay, so now let's take a look at this. One of these has something else. They have something else exposed in one of these, and it's this one. Okay, so here, enclosed within this connective tissue is the vagina. So I incised the vagina on one side. I opened up the vagina. Okay? And then there you can see the lining of the vagina. Now, in a younger woman, those ridges would have been more pronounced. You see the ridges there? It has a stratified squamous epithelial lining thrown into ridges. Okay? Can you see the ridges? Mm-hmm. Right there. And then here, at the end of the vagina, opposite the orifice, there is the bottom of the uterus. That's the cervix. And
Can you show it over this side?
yeah, there's the cervix.
Okay.
And that's where a cervical cap would be placed. And then right in the middle of the cervix, right there, there's the external os of the uterus. Os. In this case, that's not os as in osteology, but os from ostia, which means mouth in Latin. What was the name of Rome in the ancient world was not right on the Tiber River. It was some distance away. And but there was a town right on the river which was the one that cargo offloaded, where ships would offload or load. So cargo heading for Rome would be loaded onto wagons in this town and then carted to Rome. And exports from Rome would go the other way, down a road into this town and to be loaded on ships. What was the name of that town?
Ostia?
Ostia. It was the mouth of Rome on the Tiber, the commercial mouth. Now, there's a new, it's still there, by the way. It's called, the original commercial mouth is called Ostia Anticum, Old Ostia. As the shoreline migrated toward the west, it was left inland.